The Secrets of Technology is brought to you by the StarQuest Production Network and is made possible by our many generous patrons. If you'd like to support the podcast, please visit sqpn.com/give. You're listening to The Secrets of Technology. Hi, I'm Dom Bettinelli, and you're listening to The Secrets of Technology, where we discuss the technology news that's important to you from a uniquely Catholic point of view. And joining me today on the panel are Father Joseph Sund. Hey, Father.
Good to be with you.
And Pat Scott. Hey, Pat.
Hello there.
Before we get into our topic, I want to tell everyone about a show on the StarQuest Network you are sure to enjoy called Let's Science. Perfect show to go with Secrets of Technology. You can find Let's Science wherever fine podcasts are found, or at sqpn.com/science. And every other week they tackle an interesting science topic in the news in about 20 minutes or so from a Catholic perspective. And it's a great show. So you definitely should check it out. sqpn.com/science. So as has been our custom from the beginning, and this goes all the way back. So we've been at this 4 years now with Secrets of Tech. We do an annual series of Christmas episodes, Christmas gift guides, where we start in November. I know, we're not putting up our decorations or playing carols, but we're starting now in November because it gives you time to start thinking about gift buying. But hey, folks, as we record this, Thanksgiving's in a week. So Black Friday sales are coming, all that sort of stuff. So it's time to start thinking about gifts, and we like to cover tech related potential gift ideas here on the show, and sometimes not so high tech. But I think today everything we've got is pretty high tech. So we don't have a general theme, but I think you'll recognize some of our common interests that have come up in the show in the past. And so, Pat, why don't you go first? I know this is a particular interest of yours, your gifts, ideas that you've come up with.
Right. Well, we had talked about doing something about home automation. I said, I don't have any. So, but I can do leisure automation.
There you go.
So here's how I automate my leisure. The biggest thing that's been enjoyable for me over the last 2 or 3 years has been a VR headset. And up until now, I've had a VR headset from Meta called the Quest 2. And they came out with a Quest 3 a couple of months ago, and I finally bit the bullet and got a Quest 3. So I wanted to say that it is very good. It has a wider field of vision. It has colored AR, so that you can actually see your room and everything in color now and see it very clearly. The cameras are quite good.
Right. They
have smaller controllers and better hand tracking. And the only thing that was holding me back was they didn't have a battery strap that would let me, play my 2.5 or 3 hours worth of golf. So I finally, when they announced that strap was ready, I went ahead and bit the bullet. So basically, the Quest 3, they have either 128, 100, or 512 gigabyte space. I went for the 512, but I think, for people who are just going to concentrate on a couple of exercise and a couple of games, the 128 would be fine. But you always run out of space when you buy the low model. So That's what I did. And the headset that I chose is the Bobo VR. On the 2, I had the Bobo VR Pro 2, and so I upgraded to the Bobo VR 3, and it has a place for replaceable batteries, which interchange with my 2. And so what I was going to suggest is that if you were interested in getting VR for somebody in the family, depending upon your budget, the Quest 2 is still very good, and it's been discounted recently because of the 3 coming out. So you could get the Quest 2 and a Bobo VR headset for it, or you could get the Quest 3 and the headset for it. The headset that comes with the Quest is a little bit tight and caused me to have headaches. So I really like this Bobo VR. It goes around your head and it's a halo type thing. So it just kind of floats. It doesn't push on you like the standard elastic strap does.
Does it make you holier?
I'm sorry?
Does
it makes
make
me
you
holier.
holier?
Yeah. I've got a hole in my head.
I want to pause for a second to kind of just comment on that because I've got the Quest 2 with the Bobo VR, and I think it was my pick of the week once, and it is really a nice upgrade. It is it changes the way you use it, and the way it sits on your head, it's less intrusive, it's not as tight, like you said, and it's got space to put an additional battery on it, which is magnetically attached to give you that extra playing time, which is really nice.
Yeah, it's kind of sad when you're in the middle of a game and you're almost up to the last hole and you lose your battery. That's a problem. So this one, you just reach down, put on the other one, and I keep a spare so that I've always got one charged.
Right.
So
and it magnetically attaches to the back of the VR strap, so it's easy to do it even without having to take it off.
Yeah. Right.
I was going to say it's kind of like actual golf, though, because usually near the last holes, I'm losing my battery anyway. So.
Oh, that's true. But, unfortunately, this doesn't give me as good exercise as real golf. But I do the Supernatural, which is the exercise program.
Yes. So
I could get by with golf and Supernatural and a couple of other games and be fine on the one, on the lower
the Quest
size.
2. Yeah.
But on the other hand, I like to tinker and I like to try new things. And then, so.
Yeah.
The other thing that I don't need, but a lot of people find very helpful are, especially if you're doing a fast-paced game where you do a lot of exercise and sweating and stuff like that, a lot of people really like hand grips. So even though I don't use them, I thought for a Christmas gift idea that the hand grips, to keep your palms from sweaty, you get a better grip on it, and they, of course, have a strap so they don't fly off into breaking your TV or something. So there were two brands that most of my buddies like, and I'm going to put those in the show notes. So, the other thing that I mentioned is one other time was if you like to play in a dark room, like you've got people in the next room and they're trying to sleep and you want to watch a movie or you want to do something very quietly with your Quest, there are some infrared lights that are very good for either playing in a dark room, or I've had people talk about they go put them on their patio at night and they can play outside on their patio. But you don't want to play outside during the daytime. It's too easy to get light in the lenses, and then you've got a burnt out Quest.
Right.
So.
Right.
But those are my choices for the hardware.
Yeah. Can I ask you about the mixed reality aspect of it? Have you done much of that with the Quest 3? Because that's the new thing. Because the Vision Pro is gonna have that mixed reality. You see the world around you in the midst of your VR. Have you done much of that?
Yeah, not a lot of it, but of course it's there when you first turn it on, and you could either go into the special home room that they have that you can put all sorts of environments on, or you can leave it in the pass-through mode, only it's not that gray, ghostly pass-through. It is a very pretty clear. It's not photographic clear, but it's pretty clear. And I can read my watch or look at my phone and get, most of my stuff done without having to take off the headset.
Oh, that's good.
And I can reach over and get something to drink or whatever. And of course, if you had children or dogs, it would be nice to be able to see them come in and not step on them. And then there are several games that are pitched for actually taking advantage of your room. And one of the new features it has is when you set it up, it will scan your room, not just you draw a boundary. It actually scans the whole room with the furniture and everything in it. And you can see it doing its little graphing type thing. And then one of the first games they have is there's monsters that are coming in from outer space, and they're breaking your roof, and they're coming in the walls, and you see chunks of your lamp fall down, and the bookcase go away, and so it's very realistic. On the other hand, if I'm playing golf, I don't want to see my room. I want to see the fairyland of Elfheim, or Bogey's Bonanza, or the Cherry Blossom, or something like that. I want to see those environments. But yeah, it's supposed to. There are some other games. Zombies is one that they said was quite good, that used your own rooms as you're actually in them doing that. But I haven't played a lot more than just because I just got this last week, so I haven't had a lot of time to play with it. But it's very effective in the things I've looked at.
Now, Pat, with the especially thinking of this for people who might be fall prone, who might fall, is there stuff that you can do that's more sitting down?
Oh, I do almost everything sitting down. And most of the games adjust for it, or I say games, but apps. And most of them allow you to do either seated mode or standing. But except for my Supernatural, everything I do, I'm in a rolling chair that has a back on it. And so I can scoot around and get around very easily in that. And now, if you were talking, there are some apps that are intended to make you feel like you're going to fall. Richie's Plank is one. But for the person who does have a problem with dizziness or unstable, yeah, you could do 90% of the things, without being standing and walking around.
That include the golf game?
Oh yeah, that's the one I do. I use that several times a week, and I play sitting down. And now I can stand, but
it's mini golf, just to be clear. Like, it's not like
okay,
like the regular
You're just
fairways.
putting.
Yeah, it's putting. It's not driving. Like on at Augusta National. It's like mini golf thing. So that works well. And there's settings, like you can tell it, do couch mode, and you can be sitting down while you're doing it. And I've done it too with some games. But yeah, like Supernatural is an exercise app, and it's designed to get you up and moving around. So if you're unsteady on your feet, you don't want to be doing that one anyway, or Beat Saber for that matter.
Right, but they do have adjustments and accommodations in Supernatural now for one-handed, for sitting, and for no turning, things like that, and a large platform so that you don't feel like you're going to fall off the Great Wall of China. So they've made accommodations quite well.
It's been a while since I played that, so that's good. Yeah.
Yeah, and they've added something like knee kicks, so that even though you don't really have lower legs in the game, part of it is engaging your lower body as well.
Okay.
So they've got lots of accommodations and changes in there.
Nice. Very good. That's awesome. I mean, it's VR, like, especially when you consider the Vision Pro is going to be $3,000. Even the best highest end of the Meta headsets is $650. What was it? It's not that. It's comparatively, it's a lot less expensive. But even if you go for the Quest 2, which is still really good, that's a couple $100. That's
right.
Well worthwhile.
$259, I think it was that I saw, or
yeah, something like that. And so that's it's a really nice. It'll be a really nice gift, I think, for a lot of people. So that's awesome.
Now, being made by Facebook, does that require a Facebook login to use?
No, it doesn't anymore. You can set up a Meta account without that. But if you want to take advantage of being able to engage in games where you're using the Facebook Messenger to set up your games and stuff like that, then you have to log in. But no, you can do it strictly with a Meta account and not connect it to Facebook now.
Right. So you don't need a Facebook account, but you're still giving them all your information. So it's the same company, but
it doesn't tie it to your Facebook profile unless you ask it to.
Right. Okay. Right. Excellent. Very good. So, Father, what do you have for some gift guide ideas?
So I went the route of the home automation, and so my first one, I don't think you should be using when you have your Meta Oculus headset on. That probably wouldn't be a good idea. And this first one was, we bought it for our rectory about a year back now, and it's the Roomba mop.
Yeah, I think that would be a problem while I was doing my Meta.
And so this is The full name of it is the iRobot Brava Jet. And so what this is it's like your Roomba vacuum cleaner, except after you run your Roomba vacuum cleaner, you can also run a Roomba mop. And so this actually has mop pads on it that sprays and mops your house for you. We have it set up. There's a whole routine set up on Tuesdays when neither priest is in the rectory usually. But we're able to let the whole house get cleaned by robots and we're good to go.
So to clarify, there are some robot, floor cleaners that are vacuums, some that are just mops, and some that are both. Now, of course, the ones that are both are much more expensive, but this is just the mop, and it's $2.99, which is compared to right now, actually on Amazon, it's $2.99, normally $4.99. So that's a pretty good deal right now, and that's a pretty good price for it. And what's nice about these is they you can have, it'll map your house out. Like you can set it to map out all the rooms so it knows where things are. And then you can tell it, you can schedule it, these times be in these rooms and these times be in those rooms. And then these times don't bother us. And it will even recharge itself when it's running low on the battery and resume. I totally want one of these. It's entirely impractical for my family, just because there's 7 of us in this house all the time in every room. Along with all the Legos. So, but someday when it's just me and my wife, we're totally getting these.
Well, maybe they could add a part to help sort the Legos out for you and put them in boxes.
That would be awesome. I would pay $1,000 for that.
They would sell millions of those.
Take my money.
Yeah, I think this was a product that was made for priest rectories, to be perfectly honest. So we have the Roomba vacuum run separate. But you can actually, I don't have it set up this way, but you can actually have them tied together that it tells the Brava Jet when it's finished vacuuming and sends it the signal that it's time to go and mop the same area it just vacuumed.
Wow.
Living in the Jetsons.
Yes.
It is a jet.
It is a jet. What was her name? Rosie, right?
Yeah.
Rosie. So this is Rosie. This is the full Rosie here. And we have those vinyl wood floors, and it does a really good job on them. And so there's things you have to change on it, right? There's pads that you have to put on it. They come with disposable pads, and they kind of want you to keep buying the disposable pads. You can buy reusable from Roomba, and you can also buy third-party renewable. I found the third-party renewable to be just as good. And so you can buy like a 10-pack of those, throw them in the washing machine with just water and clean them.
Wow.
And they work great. And then you can they have a specialty cleaner that they want you to use. And if you're not using that and you damage it, it's going to void your warranty. But if you dilute regular cleaning fluid, it works fine. So that's the other nice thing is it just takes regular cleaner and has a little spray bottle thing, basically an electronic sprayer that it sprays it out on the floor and mops over it. And so the continual upkeep is pretty cheap of it. It's just that initial cost.
Nice.
Cool.
That's really cool. I like it.
Yeah. One side note is I found it helpful to wet the pads before you start it mopping. So you're not dry mopping the first 50 feet of your house. So
Right. Good point.
Second thing goes into more of the home automation, and it's piggybacking off of last Christmas. I kind of gave a little spoiler alert that luckily my folks weren't listening to that yet. I did a automation of my parents' house. My dad is the one who's a little more fall prone. And so, but he is also an IT guy. He spent 30 years of his life being a programmer. So he is open to using the tech. And so we set up with the Alexa and all of that, we set up the ability for him to turn on the lights and all of that. So what I used, in my own place, I used Lutron stuff, but that's a little higher expense. And I didn't want to go that high expense on him and have to rewire his entire house. So we went with the GE Sync Smart Home. And so that is both light bulbs and light switches. If you just want to do the light bulbs and you don't want to change out any light switches, you can go that way. They have plugs, they have all of that. And so they range from $10 to $50 on things. So the bulbs are usually 10 or 12 bucks. So they're really a low price. They work fairly well. I've had a couple times that the Wi-Fi drops on them, but you're going to have that with some of those smart home things anyway. And so have that set up for them, and it's worked very well.
Is it a hub system where there's like Philips has a hub that they all connect to, or is it directly connect to your Wi-Fi?
This is the beauty, is it's not a hub, it's a mesh. So they connect to each other. So if your Wi-Fi doesn't reach out, it will work. I have a separate Wi-Fi network in their home set up for the smart home. Mm-hmm. You don't have to do that, but I find that more helpful than not. So, but that's because they had a IT guy setting up their home network.
Right,
so
right.
Didn't want to mess with that.
So I wanted to set something up separate that kept their home network clean, which will lead me into my final pick.
Mm-hmm.
And my final pick is the Eero Mesh Wi-Fi for the house. And this was actually, my brother got this from my folks as a gift a couple years ago, and they always had horrible Wi-Fi in their house, and this has solved that problem once and for all. And so works really well. You can buy a subscription service for it that gives you some more control over your network, but you don't have to. They don't do that, and it works fine. And then what you can do is you can tie that in if you have any of the newer Amazon Echoes. I can't remember which generation it is, but any of the newer Amazon Echoes have actually the Eero extender in them. And so it extends your Wi-Fi through your Amazon Echo. So wherever you have one of those devices, your Wi-Fi by a $40 device expands. So with those two tied together, we have whole home Wi-Fi for them that was under a couple $100 when everything was all done, said and done.
So I have the Eero 6 Plus, the late, whatever the latest version is, the current Eero system in my house. I have they're all like the same. Like it used to be like there was a base station and extenders, but now they're all the same. They can all be base stations or router extenders, depending on how you configure it. But one of the things I love about it is that I can set up profiles, and so I have the adults have their own profile, the teens have a profile, and the younger kids have a profile, and then I have a smart home profile that I put all my smart home stuff on, and you can turn on and off, pause, like it's 10 o'clock, time for everyone to go to bed, and I turn off the Wi-Fi to all the devices on this, the kids Eero profile. So that's great about it, that control it gives. And I do have the subscription because it gives me a 1Password for Families subscription, and it gives me VPN. And what was the third thing? So a third thing that I also use, and it turned out, looking at the expense, I'm actually saving money because I was paying for all of these things separately to begin with. Now I'm actually saving money by doing the Eero Plus subscription. So you may consider that if in the cost of it. But it's
now, does that give you filtration with that too?
No, it doesn't give like network level, like pie holes level, sort of filtering.
I guess you could set up the DNS settings to filter it.
Well, I should actually know. There is some filtering at the router level. How was it? There's a setting for that.
I'm specifically thinking with like your kids. So if someone was looking at a family level with this, would this be a device that they could use to have some family filtration in their home, which is better than nothing?
So yes, actually it does do some of that, because I have it open, and there is the option you can turn on advanced security. So it prevents access to sites that host malicious content or viruses, botnets, phishing sites, and more. And you can turn on ad blocking at the network level as well. I'm very leery of turning on ad blocking at the network level, only because sometimes some sites are just really rude about their ads. And if I can't turn it off on my computer, I got to go do it at the network level. It's a whole hassle. So, but you do what you do, whatever that works for you guys. But it also tells you like it just, let's see, in the activity scan, it has blocked 10 threats and has blocked so many ads. Like it will block some ads natively. I'm not sure how or why, but there's like, I think malicious ads, I think is the obnoxious ones. It's blocking some at that level. But so there is some of that at the network level. It's not Pi-hole level. I say Pi-hole. It's a Raspberry Pi software that you can install, and it's really advanced and you can really tweak it. But it's really nerdy and technical. Whereas this is flip a switch and it does it for you. So it's Jack Thomas, Father Corey, and I nerdy. Yes,
level.
Exactly. That's right. It's Linux guy nerdy versus flipping a switch. So excellent, very good. And then the GE Sync Smart Home. That's very interesting. I like the idea of a bunch of stuff that works, that's designed to work together. That's various kinds of things: thermostats, wall switches, outlets, light bulbs, that sort of stuff. So that's really good.
Yeah. The one additional note I had on especially if you're doing switches, my parents live in an older home that was built in the 50s. And when you're doing smart home things, neutral wires are a big thing. And so you have to look carefully to make sure to know what your home has. Basically, If your home was built after the 80s, mid 80s, you're probably going to need neutral wires. If your home was built before then, you're going to have to buy the more expensive ones that don't have the neutral wires.
Right. It doesn't mean you can't do it. It just means that you need to get the equipment that's for your home, that sort of thing. So, yeah.
And I hate to ask what a neutral wire is.
So, go ahead, Father.
Too techy for this.
I'm going to be too really untechnical on this. It's a low voltage wire that helps to differentiate if a device is on and off for the switch for the. Yeah. So I don't know the whole thing of it. I just know that every house I've ever lived in is old and doesn't have them.
Right. Okay. So since the 80s, it's been code to have a neutral wire in the electrical. So,
okay.
Disclaimer: SQPN does not endorse you doing your own electrical work.
If you don't know what a neutral wire is,
stay away.
Hire an electrician or find someone who knows what they're doing, or at least watch some YouTube videos. But don't sue us if you electrocute yourself. Most of this stuff is designed to be accessible to someone who's a little bit home handy, so, and they give instructions and stuff. So, just be safe. All right. Excellent. So I also went with the home automation theme for my gift ideas this time. And all of these are things that I use myself, and I could have gone crazy. I just did 3. I restrained myself from going nuts on my list here. But the first one is the easiest way to get started with home automation is smart outlets. Like these are the little plug things that go into your existing outlets, and they connect to whether it's HomeKit or Alexa or Google Assistant or whatever. It connects to any of those systems. And the ones that I find are inexpensive and easy to use is the Miros or however you pronounce it. Some of these made up names, I don't know. But I'll have a link in the show notes. So what I have listed is a 4-pack. So you get 4 of these for $40. So they're about $10 each, which is pretty good. You got to be careful. You got to look at what you're buying, because if you are a Apple HomeKit person, get the HomeKit version. If you don't have HomeKit, if you prefer Google Assistant or Alexa, get the other one. But you want to pay the Apple tax and get the HomeKit one if you have a HomeKit home, because it just connects easier to things, to your HomeKit. I have a mixture of HomeKit and non-native HomeKit, Miros, and frankly, the non-native HomeKit ones they've been annoying because they don't work as well with HomeKit. But that said, it's a pretty good deal. And right now, there's a $10 coupon if you go to Amazon, and so you're going to get for $30, you'll get 4 of them, which is a pretty good deal. It's like $7.25 each. So that's good. The Miros Smart Plug Mini, and the shape is great because you can actually put 2 of them in a standard outlet. They're rectangular,
that's nice.
right? And so they don't like hang over and take up the whole outlet. So you can only plug one thing in. So that's really nice. Yeah.
So these coupled with light bulbs, you don't have to do any electrician work to do a smart home.
Right. Between these and smart bulbs, you don't need to worry about wiring at all. What you might do is you get some of the like wall battery powered remote switches, and that way you can control them without having to say something to Alexa or Siri, or without having to open your phone up, because you may be techie, but the people you live with are probably not, and they'll get really frustrated if you tell them that they can't flip the switches. You got to give them a way to turn the lights on and off.
Amazon, I think, actually makes a robot switch now that you can tell the A lady to flip her on and off.
Oh, that's really handy. That's good.
That could have been a good pick, but we're making this list too long.
Right. I'm not going to get into that. I mean, there's even things I bought that actually go over the analog physical switches to prevent people from flipping them, because then that turns off the thing and the automations don't work. So, but that's another level. We may have talked about that in a previous home automation episode, but if we haven't, we certainly will in a future home automation episode, because you can guarantee that I will be talking about this as a main topic at some point in the future. So that's the Mira smart outlets. The other one I want to talk about is a SwitchBot, and I got the wrong link. So let me get the right link here. SwitchBot. So SwitchBot's another company. The Smart Plug Mini 15 amp energy monitor. Now this is what really interesting to me. So what this can do is it does the same thing that the Miras one does, except it can also monitor power usage in the coming through the outlet, and that is really nice for when you're doing automations. And so, for example, there are times when if I've since fixed this, but for a while I had a situation where I couldn't put on the space heater or room air conditioner, depending on the season, in my office if the washer in the next room was running. It would overload the circuit, trip the breaker, all the power in my office would go off, all my computers. It was a bad thing. And so I finally got this thing, 2 of these, put them on each one. And so whenever the power draw on the washer went above the minimum level that it sits at when it's not operating, it would turn off the space heater, the outlet for the space heater, so that it wouldn't, trip the breaker. I since had an electrician come in and do a dedicated circuit, just for the washer, just because I didn't want to have to deal with that anymore. And I just didn't like the washer being on the same circuit as all of the computer equipment in my office. Yeah. But nevertheless, this is, you could think, if you think about it, you could come up with reasons you'd want to automate things based on power draw. You can think of all kinds of things, when, trying to think, like when a light in the bathroom goes on, or light in your bedroom goes on, it turns on the coffee pot, or, you know what I mean? You could figure out different things you could do, that would be useful to know, or just you want to keep track of power usage. How much energy am I using on these different devices? That can always be very useful.
It looks like the max output of it is 875 watts. So that would work with, unless you're mining Bitcoin, that should work with any computer fine.
Right. Yes. That should work with most things. I might have been pushing it a bit with the washer or a space. I'm not sure I would put the space heater wasn't on it, and I've always been iffy about putting the space heater on a smart outlet, because the space heaters draw a lot of power, and you can burn it out at best, or catch on fire at worst. So you got to be careful with that. You got to make sure that it can handle the power draw on the whatever you're plugging into it. But you're right. This was how much was this one? It was $40 for 4 of them, I think it is, or 4-pack is $40, so that's a pretty good deal. Then my last one is Oh, that's what it was. Okay, so that was the SwitchBot indoor humidity and temperature sensor. Now that I need to also look up because I got the wrong link on that. That's the one I had the wrong link on. This is good podcasting here, folks. So here we go.
On the fly.
On the fly. I am so prepared. All right, so we had an issue in my house where my daughters, their room, they're constantly having. We had mold issues in their room, and we're like, what is going on in here? And so I wanted to, we put a dehumidifier in there that runs basically year round. But I wanted to monitor the humidity in their room. So I picked up the SwitchBot Wi-Fi thermometer, hygrometer, IR remote control, etc. It's got a bunch of different functions it can do. But the hygrometer, which is a humidity meter, basically, is the thing I wanted. And so it measures, it has a display. It will show you the temperature and humidity in the space that it's in, and it will also record it. And so I get a graph of the humidity, and I get an alert if I've set it up so that I get an alert if the humidity goes above a certain amount, a certain percentage in their room, and I need to go check out what's going on. Usually it's the humidifier is full, and they just failed to tell me, or they've unplugged it because it's too loud, quote unquote, or they wanted to plug in something. It's like you gotta plug it in. I do call it the moisture vaporator because we're all Star Wars fans here, and so that's what we're doing. Is we're farming moisture like Luke and his Uncle Owen. So that's the most expensive of these. That's $70 for that, but it does a bunch of things. It does it can act as a SwitchBot hub. They have a lot of different devices, including the SwitchBot curtain things where they can open and close your curtains automated, and that sort of thing, which I think is really cool. And I'm refraining from buying because I really can just get up and walk over and open my curtains. But I could see, in situations, especially if I lived in a place where the rods were like way high, or these, big curtains,
At the lake. At the lake
house, right? We Pat came and my father-in-law Randy came up and for vacation with us in a lake house this summer, and there were these windows that were way high up that could have had curtains on it if there was a way to open and close them remotely, which you could with the SwitchBot curtains, which even have solar panels on them, so they charge themselves. So you don't have to climb up on a ladder to change the batteries. So that's really cool. That wasn't one of my picks, but I just one of my gift guide ideas. But just take that as a bonus. Now I have to go find it and put a link to it in the show notes.
Do you think Tashi Station on Tatooine carries all that stuff? Yeah,
you can get it at Tashi Station, but don't go to hang out with your friends there and just fooling around. You got work to do here on the farm there, Luke. Okay. All right, so those are our Christmas gift ideas for this week. We over the next month or so, we'll have shows where the rest of our Secrets of Tech family will get to share their Christmas gift ideas with you. Just a programming note. As we record this, there will not be a new episode the week as usual. We're not going to drop an episode on Thanksgiving. I'll be too busy being comatose from turkey, so I'm not going to be making a show for you. But we'll be back the following week with an all new episode of Secrets of Tech with more gift ideas. Excellent. So before we move on, I want to take a moment to thank our patrons who make it possible for us to create the Secrets of Technology, including Tony L., Gerardo E., Greg C., Wesley B., and Kevin T. Their generous donations at sqpn.com/give make it possible for us to continue the Secrets of Technology and all the shows at StarQuest, and you can join them by visiting sqpn.com/give. All right, so let's move on to our headlines. And our headlines this week are out of this world, folks. A little pun there. Little pun, because our first headline is from CNN. It says the U.S. is receiving dozens of UFO reports a month, a senior Pentagon official tells CNN. So this is actually, this article is from a little while ago. We're just getting around to it now. But the government agency that has been revealed that keeps track of these things is now required by law to make an annual report to Congress of reports of UAPs. This is what we call them now. We don't call them UFOs. the UFO, unidentified flying object. Now we call them UAP, unidentified aerial phenomena, because it's the government. We need a new acronym. So, according to this office, they said they received 800 reports of unidentified objects to investigate as of this past April. So, in the year ending this past April, up from 650 reports in August of 2022. So, there's a lot more coming in. So, why are there UFOs everywhere now? They say the vast majority of the objects are explainable balloons, drones. Some may be spy balloons from the Chinese or other, trash in the air, whatever. There's Starlink, right? I'm sure that's happening. The people seeing the Starlink train. Most sightings and observations come from near restricted military airspace, but they say that's likely a result of the additional sensors and radars around those facilities. So, I guess that makes sense. They said 2 to 4% of all of the reports, though, are truly anomalous and require further investigation. They have what they say interesting signatures, such as high-speed travel or, quote, unknown morphologies. So make it that way you will. What do you think of this? Some days I think where they're just gaslighting us, like they're hiding top secret military programs by focusing on UFO stuff. And sometimes I think they're gaslighting us, trying to make us think that there aren't UFOs by being so open about it. What do you, maybe 2 levels down on this with the tinfoil hat. What do you all think of this?
Jimmy tells us it's always aliens, right?
It's because it's always aliens. That's right.
It's always
unless
aliens.
there's a demon in that UFO.
right. Because it's always demons too. What do you think? They have all these UAP reports. Is it just we're paying attention now? What do you think? I'm not necessarily asking if you think aliens are real or not, but just what do you think of all of these reports?
I think there's so much technology and advancement happening that, like, not just that we don't know about, but even that the government doesn't know about, right? You think about the large amount of airplanes and stuff happened by like early people doing things, right? And so some of this advancement of technology just on Earth, not out of this world, is happening that people don't have a hold of it. And so I think some of that can be explained by that. And then some of it can be explained by the fact that countries like to spy on each other.
Yeah.
I usually don't jump to the conclusion of the craziest first. Use Occam's razor on things, right? The simplest explanation is probably the best.
Right.
And there's a lot more people with drones and that could have lights on them and things like, we used to have kids doing rockets. Well, kids are into other things now, and some of those things could be misinterpreted by scaling problems. What you think is the size of something or the speed of something, and we're fallible. And the other thing is I think that there are more movies, more culture that people are a little bit more aware of literature and movies with these types of things in them. So I think that they jump to conclusions.
Yeah, I belong to a Facebook group that for a local area known as the Bridgewater Triangle. It's a supposedly has all the supernatural phenomena, and people are constantly like posting pictures like, look what I captured on my camera. Look at that shadow there. That's definitely an Indian chief. And I'm like, that's your shadow. Like, it literally goes from where you're standing out. That is your shadow. Or, this weird bright thing, it's this the streak across, that's a lens flare, like it's and I think because literally everyone has a camera on them at all times, I think there's more of this sort of thing. I'd like frankly I would love for there to be aliens. I think that would be the coolest thing ever, is if there were actual aliens in actual advanced space.
They were friendly.
Friendly, sure, yeah. If they're not, we'll just send Jeff Goldblum up and he'll insert a virus in with his Mac PowerBook 520, whatever it was, the Wall Street PowerBook to knock him out of the sky. But I just love the idea of that. Frankly, I find that less scary than the possibility that the Russians or the Chinese have sufficiently advanced flying technology, like some of these things are described as being able to do. So that's my big concern there. So I think it bears watching. There's always we keep getting more and more crazy stories and people claiming inside knowledge, but until someone produces a spacecraft or a walking, talking alien, it's going to be hard to convince me otherwise.
The mummies from Mexico won't do it for you?
No, not the alien mummies. Oh my gosh, that was
That was weird, and they brought them back again.
Yeah, you know, like they came back for another tour. Oh my gosh,
the truth is out there, though.
Yes, it's really out.
Oh, it is out there, all right. So our second headline has to do with moving back to the VR space. The difference between Vision Pro and the Meta Quest approach to AR VR. And in fact, the headline is Apple is approaching social on Vision Pro the way Meta should have all along. And it's interesting because this article goes into how Meta's approach to social, on the Quest has been fragmented. There's some spaces that Meta provides there, but most ways of having social interaction are left up to the individual app developers. There's some virtual spaces that are common, but each one you have to log, create your space separately. You have different avatars, and it's really kind of a fragmented experience. You can be have social interaction with people, but as I've had the experience with this where just Pat, I think you and I and your son Tim were once trying to get together in one place on the Quest, and it was hard to find a place that worked and wasn't hard. Whereas the way Apple has designed the Vision Pro system, based on what we know now, is they are providing a basic level of social interaction that all programmers will have access to through this thing called share play. So if a developer wants to allow you to share music or video or something with others, it's there, the basic system. And then you have the avatar, which is based on an image of yourself, is the same throughout the whole system. So I like that the article is an interesting article, and it's an interesting way. It gives an interesting insight into the differences between the two ways the two companies approached it. What did you think of this? Pat, what did you think?
Well, I thought it was interesting. Now, what I had heard so much before was the Vision Pro seemed aimed at individual experiences, where the Meta one seemed to be aimed at group experiences, that all the examples they used and all were focused on, how you would use this thing, not how you would share with it. So this article really opened up a whole different thing for me because I hadn't heard that before.
Right. Yeah, some of the stuff they'd shown in the demo were of people interacting on FaceTime or doing work-related things, but there wasn't a whole lot of interacting with other like friends or family wearing Vision Pros.
Right.
Probably because as a $3,000 headset,
you're not going to have a lot.
You're not going to have a lot of friends wearing these, at least in the early days. But yeah, that's interesting. What about you, Father? What did you think of the differences?
I think we're talking about software differences is the big thing. I think Facebook on the application side of it, it's because it's Facebook, it's more because Meta's Facebook, it's more social. And we're going to look at it as being more social. But that doesn't mean that Facebook's implementation of software has always been poor.
Oh, yeah.
Their algorithm is great. Their website and their apps are the clunkiest, worst things.
Worst, yes.
And the fact that people put up with it proves that they're all addicted. So they're not good at software. They're good at algorithms.
Right.
And the only reason the Oculus is really good is because they bought what someone else made, to be honest.
Right. They bought Oculus, the company, and then they changed it to Meta. Yeah.
Yeah. So it doesn't surprise me that Apple's doing the software side better. I mean, that's kind of what their MO has been since the late 90s, was that they did the software side better.
But it is kind of surprising because social is what Facebook's primary business function is. I mean, that's what Meta is about social, and they just can't. I mean, people have mercilessly mocked, Meta Horizons, that whole thing. It was just as soon as people saw it, they were just, this is awful. And the vision remains to be seen. This is still a vaporware product, effectively. I mean, it's not out yet, so we don't know exactly how it's going to work. We've only seen the demos, although based on what third parties who tried it have said, it's going to be, astounding, an astounding leap forward. But nevertheless, you'd expect Meta to do this better, but they're not. And I think that's part of it is they do not have the programming chops. Now, like running Facebook, an app that billions of people use every day, like literally, is hard. I get that how hard that is, but it just doesn't work very well with
it's bad.
it. Yeah, and even the Quest, I've as much as I've enjoyed using it, there are the edges that you run into on that, the metaphorical edges where it's just that's not as smooth, that doesn't work as well, and yeah.
Well, and for one thing, it's kind of like a difference between having a flea market and a store that's got all of these departments that all work together.
Right.
Meta has done the flea market approach. Each little app does its own thing and has its own standards for controls and its own avatars. Well, they've got a few that share avatars.
Yeah.
But, it's a different approach, and therefore it's very disjointed. Although the individual apps or the individual experiences may be very good, it doesn't lead you to have the same experience on a neighbor's app.
Right.
Pat, aren't we back to the perennial? I mean, it's kind of like the Android versus iOS thing all over again.
Yeah, because the operating system there ties everything together and it's all unified. And where Android, it's the Wild West. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, and I think by analogy, it's not perfect, but Facebook is kind of the Android in that market. And
well, that's what the Meta is an Android.
Yeah.
And then. Well, it is,
Literally.
yeah. It is so then you have that as an Android device, and then you have the Apple device. And so it gets down to that whole thing of their infrastructures haven't changed. It's the walled environment is going to feel better.
Right.
Sure.
Or the integrated environment. I mean, you'd look at it, sometimes walled garden is used as a pejorative, but really everything is designed to work together with a base level of polish that's underneath everything that developers can build on top of, that Apple, gives them the tools. And that can feel confining to someone who doesn't want to use those tools. I want to do my own thing, and that's okay. Well, you can go to Meta or Android. But if you want to use those tools to build on top of, they're there for that sort of developer. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I mean, there's a lot left to be seen, and it's certainly the race isn't over yet. Meta can pick up a lot of ground here. They've had a head start out of the gate. Let's see if they learn any lessons. And competition is good. I like competition.
Does Google have a device?
They had one, they dropped it, but they still have one game that's under development and without a device to run it on.
Right.
I saw an article about that.
Yeah.
So they put all their eggs in one basket, ran with it for 5 years, and abandoned it.
Abandoned the basket, but kept a couple of eggs.
Okay. That sounds familiar.
That sounds like Google. So our last headline is kind of a little, I don't know if it's self-serving or not, but it was fascinating to me. People with CarPlay are mostly just listening to AM, FM radio. And so CarPlay or Android Auto, I'm going to guess, is the same. So Edison Research is a research firm, and they surveyed people who both do have Android Auto and CarPlay and those who do not. And they found that people who have neither of these car options that allow you to connect your phone and its apps to the entertainment system, for the people who don't have that, 67% of the time they spent listening to AM, FM radio, 9% of the time spent listening to streaming services like Apple Music, 12% of the time spent listening to Sirius XM, 4% of the time spent listening to podcasts, and 8% of the time listening to other, which is probably the kids screaming in the backseat. I'm in this category because I don't have CarPlay or Android Auto. My car's too old for that. But with people who do have one of those, CarPlay or Android Auto, 46% of the time still spent listening to the AM, FM radio in the car. I thought that's fascinating. 18% of the time listening to streaming services like Apple Music, 19% Sirius XM, 7% podcast, 10% other. I was flabbergasted to realize that these numbers were like for AM FM radio were so high, even for people who bothered to get CarPlay or Android Auto. What do you think of this?
Well, I guess one question I have is they may have CarPlay, but are they really using their phones as a full entertainment system already? A lot of them may not be. So
Right.
that kind of distorts the numbers.
Well, that's the thing is if they're not using their they're not using their phones because for entertainment because they're listening to the AM radio or FM radio in the car.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, or the other way around. They don't really know how to listen to podcasts. They don't really know how to do that type of thing. So that basically is a wasted appliance at that point.
Although people generally, if you have a smartphone, I would guess a lot of people know how to listen to music on their phone, whether it's Apple Music or
I
Spotify.
don't, because I don't want it to run through my data.
Well, right. But
and especially if I'm out in my car, why should I do that when I can get free off the radio?
yeah, it may be a generational thing. That's for sure.
I was going to say it may be. I am at that other generation end from you.
I mean, well, I'm probably an outlier even in my own generation because I never listen to radio in the car. I would be zero on this. It's either music or podcasts. Now, granted, I'm a podcaster, so that seems natural to me. But it just I don't know. What about you, Father? What do you do when you're in the car?
I was looking at this because of the area of the country I live. I think I probably spend that 46% would probably apply to listening to Sirius XM for me. I think it would mostly apply during baseball season. I spend a lot of time driving, listening to baseball.
Yeah.
And so you're falling asleep as I say that.
Well, I have to amend it. I do listen to a lot of things, audiobooks and podcasts while I'm driving.
Well, that would be the other.
I don't have CarPlay. I don't have CarPlay.
Right.
So if I had CarPlay, maybe I would use it more.
And then I have my go-to podcast too. But I mean, I'm kind of a outlier market as someone who's doing podcasts and who lives in the middle of nowhere, that my habits probably don't align with the majority of the country.
But that's the interesting thing to me is that AM FM radio, whether you have CarPlay or not, or Android Auto or not, is still so big. It's still the king of the hill for people in their cars. And I live in the Boston area. I know I had a commute for a long time. I know when you're stuck in the car, you want to listen to something, and listening to talk, whether it's the sports radio or the morning zoo or whatever it is, or the drive time, afternoon, whatever, that's compelling, interesting, I think, for folks. I think as a podcaster, I see that 7% or 4% to listen to podcasts. I don't get discouraged by that. I say, wow, we have a lot of opportunity here to grow our listening audience. So I kind of look forward to that idea. So it's very interesting to me. All right. So those are our headlines. And so let's move on to our picks of the week. Father Joseph, you're up first. What is your pick?
My pick of the week is, cue the drum roll, the Raspberry Pi shortage is now pretty much over.
Right.
Which makes this site that I'm going to pick actually useful, because it was a dead site before. Because
you couldn't find any.
You couldn't buy. So there's a site called Raspberry Pi Locator, RPi Locator, and now that the shortage is finally over, you still have stock issues, right? People still go out of stock, but you have enough, which was kind of the way it was before the shortage. You'd have stores that would have some in stock, some not in stock. And so it tells you who has what models in stock, their prices, and tells you limits they have and all of that. And so it's a really nice site to find your Raspberry Pis on and spend some money you don't need to spend.
Right.
Just in time to have pie for Thanksgiving.
That's right.
Everyone loves Raspberry Pi. With the new Raspberry Pi 5 just around the corner, that's going to be even more useful when people are looking for that.
That's why I was pulling it up. Was I have an itch to get this new one, and want to keep an eye out for it.
Well, if you want to know everything about Raspberry Pis, check out friend of the show Jeff Geerling, his YouTube page.
Yes, indeed.
He's the Pi guy. He's the expert out there. He actually was invited to go to the Raspberry Pi headquarters in England to tour their factory or just about the time the Pi 5 was being announced. So Jeff is the Pi guy. Excellent. Very good. That's a good resource. Pat, what is your pick this week? I know what your pick is, and I'm a little frustrated because I was going to pick this in a couple weeks because it's so good, but that's fine.
Oh, well, I'm afraid I'm an anchor-holic. And I swear that, if a new battery pack comes out or a new adapter, how many hubs do I have in this house?
Yes.
That go into computers, both PCs and Macs. But this, I travel occasionally, and this just bounced out at me and said, bring me home, because it had two USB-A's, a 3.0, two USB-C's, and 3 power outlets. And you plug it into the wall and you've got it in this little small case. And,
Yep.
It uses both sides of it, one side for the outlet and the other side for the USB C and A. And I've got it sitting right in front of me. It's really very handy.
Right. It's got a 5-foot cable. It's a charging
thicker
port.
cable too.
Yes.
It's not a dinky cable. It's a thicker one.
This is a charging station, basically. In case we didn't say, it's the Anker 525 charging station, and like you said, it's got 2 USB-A ports, 2 USB-C ports, and 3 AC outlets. If you've ever been in a hotel, you know how much of a pain it is when you want to, plug things in and charge things, and the outlets are all over the place, and And frankly, I get the heebie-jeebies plugging into the provided USB-A.
No, don't do it. Don't do it.
Don't plug your stuff into strange USB outlets, because you never know what's on the other side. Whether it's bad
you don't
power
know the
or
power.
right.
Yeah.
It could be bad power, but it could also be like a hacker data attack. So this sort of thing is great. I agree with you. I have one. I'm like you. I have a ton of Anchor stuff. It's kind of ridiculous. And I keep looking at more and more. They keep like putting new things out and saying, Dom, how about this?
It's
$5,000 house power station. I'm like, oh man, if we have a power outage, you could power the whole house off of that battery.
And Melanie would say,
yeah, no. Like, fun. Kids don't need a college education. So, yes, very good pick though. And it's the black one is $41.99. The white one is $51.99. Get the black one.
Yes.
It looks nice and sleek. Excellent. So my pick this week, last time I think it was I picked the EA Play service on the Steam Deck, which has been very useful, a very handy way of getting access to a lot of games, not first-run games that my kids could play. This is another option for you, and this will work on a Mac and PC and Linux. It's the NVIDIA GeForce Now service. And this is a streaming game service where you stream over the internet, and it has a free tier, which is okay. If you're gonna get serious with this, you're gonna want to pay for it. But then they have a $10 priority tier and a $20 a month, $10 a month, $20 a month ultimate tier as well. And basically, what you're doing is you're connecting over the internet to a Windows box with a NVIDIA graphics card on it and streaming the game over the internet. And they have a whole list of really nice games that you can play, and it's all included in the one price. At the free level, there's you have to wait. There's like a waiting. You have to wait for a server to free up, one of the free ones, and they could be hundreds of people in line in front of you. Like my son would want to do it, and he'd get frustrated and quit because he's waiting a half hour and it wasn't available. But if you get the paid one, you have priority access. You get up to 1080p resolution, 60 frames per second. The free tier, you get only 1 hour at a time. The $10, it's 6 hours at a time, which frankly, you probably should not be gaming for more than 6 hours or 6 hours at all. The $20 month, you get access to a server with the GeForce RTX 480, which is a really high-end graphics card. You get 4K resolution up to 120 frames per second. So that's a really premium gaming experience. You do need a decent internet connection. You don't need like a gigabit fiber, but if you have a decent internet connection, that should be plenty. So And the lag wasn't too bad. I wasn't playing any like first person shooters. I was playing mainly when I tried it out, mainly like sim games like Endless Legends, I think it was called, was when I was playing on it, and it worked pretty good. So if you don't want to shell out for a gaming machine and you don't want to get a Switch, or you want to do PC gaming, you don't want a Switch or a Steam Deck, this is an option to check out, and you can try it out for free.
Cool. I just assumed you had to have an NVIDIA card in order to use this, so I'm very glad to find out about it.
Yeah, no, yeah, that's the great thing is the NVIDIA card is on the other end of the connection.
Right, yeah. I see that.
Even with the free tier, I find sometimes with my, I have the Xbox Game Pass thing, and I find even with that, I'm waiting in line to stream sometimes for, it's not 30 minutes, but sometimes 5-10 minutes. Sometimes the game doesn't even start because there's such a waiting line. So
with the other paid services, sometimes there's a wait. So
yeah, so the free might be as good as the paid for some of those services.
That's true. And frankly, a 1 hour session length is about as long as I want my kids to be on the game to begin with. So it'll kick them off.
Blessed Carlo Acutis limited himself to 1 hour a week. So
1 hour. Wow.
That's the story, which I was one of the things I think for the proclamation of how holy the young kid was the fact that if he completed the Pokemon game playing 1 hour a week, he was a man of great patience and endurance.
It's a miracle. It's his first miracle. That's awesome. I get about an hour a week to game just because I can't get a hold of the thing out of my kids' hands. Although we've recently discovered Mario Kart as a family, and wow,
oh, that's fun.
It's so much fun. I love beating my kids in Mario Kart. Although not anymore. I like for the first week I was wiping the deck with them, and now they're beating me every time. So it's just the nature of things.
Introduce them to Super Smash Brothers, and then you can beat them again.
Yes, that will be the next one we get. All right, so those are our picks of the week, and that's it for us this time. We'd love to get your feedback on our gift guide or our headlines or our picks of the week or anything we discussed. You can do that by commenting on the show at sqpn.com/technology or the StarQuest Facebook page, facebook.com/StarQuestMedia. Send an email to technology@sqpn.com or visit the StarQuest Discord community at sqpn.com/Discord. You'll find links from our discussion and our picks of the week on our show notes at starquest.fm/TEC235. Please write a review of the show in Apple Podcasts or any of the podcast directories that let you review shows, and share the podcast with your friends. Help us grow that 8% of the podcast listeners in the car, and you're the ones who help us do that. So share the podcast with your friends. Help us grow. Until next time, Pat Scott, thank you for joining me and sharing the secrets of technology.
It was fun as always.
Father Josephson, thank you as well.
Until next time.
And once again, I'm Dom Bettinelli. Thank you for listening to the Secrets of Technology on StarQuest.